Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
If you're gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Well, hey there, my amazing listener. Welcome. And thank you for tuning in to episode 288 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. I am excited to bring you this little extra episode, I guess. I know it's not Thursday and I'm dropping an episode, so there will be 2 episodes this week, at least 2, maybe even more, because like I've been saying for the month of March, this month is about amplifiers, about talking to people who can help you amplify your message, your business, your brand, you in the world. And so I've had lots of great guests on about different ways to amplify. So I'm sort of running out of March time to give you all these amazing episodes that I have recorded. So today is an extra special one. What's an amplifier, you may ask? Well, it's kind of things that we've been talking about already. Speaking, podcasting, media commentating, referrals, writing books, creating lead magnets, all the things that you can do to attract people, potential buyers, or existing customers back into your world is kind of like an amplification of who you are and what you do for somebody else. So this episode is carrying on with that theme. I have a guest. Her name is Sam Hicks. She's amazing, and I will tell you more about her very shortly. But I just wanted to reiterate what I've been talking about for the last month or so about my exclusive VIP offer, marketing experience in a penthouse. Look, there's 4 tickets left for that. If you are interested in coming along and spending the whole day with me in the penthouse in Melbourne, then I would love to have you come along. We will be working on your marketing strategy and getting 12 months of marketing strategy done. Now, when I say marketing strategy, it's not only social media. We will be looking at all the marketing you want to do in the next 12 months and building a strategy around that. And then, of course, start implementing it, because we need to be action takers. If you're interested in coming along or even learning more, go to bit.ly/VIP Melb, as in Melbourne, and have a look there. Or just come to the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/288 and have a look and find the link there. That might be even simpler for you. It's on Thursday, the 18th of April in the CBD of Melbourne. I'd love you to be one of my guests and come and do some marketing in the penthouse. Of course, while you are on my website, perhaps looking at that, don't forget to grab yourself a copy of my book, Small Town, Big Impact, that has 107 simple marketing strategies in it. It's kind of like the marketing Bible, but it's not a Bible, it's a marketing book. And I think that would make such a difference in the way you think about your marketing in 2024 and beyond. Today, my guest is Sam Hicks, a fellow business mentor, coach, and of course, a fellow rural businesswoman. She is amazing. Our chat's amazing. We are talking about local marketing. So what it's like to market to your own local community, whether you live in a small town or just a suburb, or, somewhere you don't have to live in a rural area to be able to market locally, I should say. So Sam is there coming to talk to us about that, and a little bit on collaborations as well, and the way she looks at perhaps doing some collaborations to help build your business and your profitability that way. Sam is a make a difference kind of person with passion for regional business development, marketing, and of course photography. Make sure you check out her website at samhicks.com.au. It's got some beautiful photography on it. I just love talking to another rural woman. She is actually from Bonnie Doon. Many of you will know Bonnie Doon from the classic TV show The Castle, but it's also where my mum grew up. So we have that little affiliation as well. Anyway, I'm going to let Sam tell you all about herself. Here's Sam, and here's our chat, my chat with Sam. Sam Hicks, I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you on my podcast. This has been a long time coming. So, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Oh, hi, Jen. I'm a bit excited. I've got a bit of fandom going on. After you've been on my podcast, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe Jen's said come to my podcast.
Oh,
Because
don't
there's
be silly.
podcasts of yours that I've listened to and resonated and sent on to clients. And I've said, look, you got to listen to this podcast from Jen because she just nails it. So, yeah, I'm quite excited to be here. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. The check's in the mail. Thank you so much for those very kind words.
With a signed book.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe an extra copy for a friend, nothing like marketing.
I can't wait.
Now, for my amazing listener who wonders why two people are cackling at the start of this podcast, I would love you to tell my listener a little bit about who you are and what you do and why we are going to have so much fun today.
Oh my goodness. One of the things I think that binds me is a sense of humour because life's too bloody short and you must have a bit of a laugh. And being in business, I mean, sometimes it just sucks rocks, doesn't it? But, it's fun. So what I do is I like to call myself a business advisor, but I do consultancy through business development, marketing, photography. So my clients extend through the Northeast and right across Victoria. I think I've been in business. I try not to do the numbers, Jen, but I started running a business when I was 18 in my shed in my garage, and I thought I was amazing. I thought I just knew everything, but I didn't. It's been a steep learning curve ever since. But I've been very fortunate that I've had a mix of being self-employed in the ceramic sector, so teaching people how to do ceramics, doing commissioned works, supplying ceramics all over Australia through national retailers and overseas. I had a fantastic stint in the tourism and visitor services sector, working with my favourite people from Marysville up until the horrible 2009 bushfires. But I loved being there because I got to work with business owners, and business owners understood that I understood them and their challenges and celebrating their successes and that whole collective marketing or collaborative marketing, which I think we may touch on a little bit later. And I've been for the last 20 odd years working with clients. So they self-direct what they need. So it might be troubleshooting, it might be a marketing plan, it might be, oh, Sam, there's a new social media platform coming out, is it suitable for my business? Can you help me with that? Or I'm looking for a book, or I'm looking for inspiration, or I'm looking for a person that I can talk to, like a business advisor who specialises in finance, for example. So, I get a variety every day, and that's what I love. Every time the phone rings and it's a new number, I think, I wonder how I can help this person today. And I've met some amazing people like you would have had. Like if you look back to all the different businesses and sectors and all those people that you've, either met, helped, referred on, whatever, it's such a collective mix of beautiful, inspirational people. So that's what I do. But in my private time, I'm a big community developer. So I've been involved in projects like our little Fawcett Hall, bringing that back from, having no power, no toilets, no running water, to a little community hive of happenings here in Fawcett, to working on an indoor heated pool for the community because the community, several hundred families, didn't want to have to drive an hour to get their kids into warm water to learn to swim. And because we live in such a beautiful part of Northeast Victoria, we're surrounded by rivers and lakes and dams. And I just thought, on my watch, I don't want another child death. I want to make sure that parents have the opportunity to be able to take their kids to a Learn to Swim program. And through that community journey, we worked out that older people wanted some warm water to be able to exercise in. So, a self-paced exercise program came out of that. And my other community passion is the Murrinini Food and Wine Group, which I was a founding member 24 years ago. And every time I put my hand up at the AGM to quit, they go, hell no. But I love marketing and, organise their events and write their grants. And I just love that because that's a group of like-minded businesses coming together to achieve greatness through events or collaborative efforts or marketing. So, yeah, that's what I do. It's a mix of businesses and community, and I just love it.
Oh my goodness. I so need to join a food and wine board. Like, where are they? And they say they're right up my alley. Do they serve food and wine, or do you have to do some work? Anyway, maybe that's a discussion for off the podcast. But you are truly amazing. And I really love, I talk a lot about community, building communities around yourself as a marketing strategy, but you embody that. And that's one of the things, just one of the things I love so much about you, Sam. And I, really do want to dig into that on the podcast today. When we were trying to come up with a subject, because really, I'm so sorry, listener, I just wanted to have Sam on. She's great. And I know that you are going to learn so much from her. So we had to, think what a subject could be for this podcast episode, because we're two rural living women who love marketing, love business. And so we thought we might just have a little bit of a chat about marketing locally, or, running your local business, because whether you live in a suburb or whether you live in a town or, a district, maybe your customers are there, and maybe, some of the things we chat about in the next 10-15 minutes can help you build your business. So local marketing, like, do you think that it's different, Sam, to overall marketing? What comes to your mind when I say, let's chat about marketing locally?
Gee, that's such a good question. I'm glad we've got this topic today, because for me, it sort of breaks into one is personal brand. So, you are your business. You are your business card. If you're out in the community helping, people will actually look towards you and go, oh, wow, and she runs a business. So it's good PR. The other thing is that local branding is around building community. And I know you're very strong on that, Jen, and that you do encourage your clients and your listeners to embrace local marketing. So, that's about being involved in your community. That is about making sure that, you've got your best dressed on in the window all the time as far as your community goes. And I think it's, understanding that, I think the Americans call it neighborhood marketing. And
Okay.
I don't know whether I really like that, because, neighborhood marketing, but it is really about embracing your local community, whether it be sponsorship, support, whether or not, it's turning up to those business meetings and supporting local government in their efforts to get the businesses together, or your local tourism and business group, or your local chamber of commerce. That local marketing all rolls into it. I think it's a big bucket of mix. I don't know, Jen, what do you think? I mean, that's what it is to me, or to me, that is what it is about being present in your community and being part of it.
Yeah, 100%. And whether, again, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, my community is more of an online community, it's still being present in that online community and realizing that communities need leaders. I know that I speak in my Small Town Big Impact book, where I talk about, sponsorship as a particular marketing strategy. And I know, I belong to footy clubs, I belong to, different local groups. And quite often, if we take footy for an example, because it's such a big thing in rural and regional areas, someone will sponsor, the local football club, but you never see the sponsor there. Like, they've got a thing on the around the oval. They might have a sign around the oval, but they never turn up and cook a barbecue, or they never, are there to present an award, or they don't make themselves known. It's just like, I love that you wanted to support your local football club, but you're missing out on what it actually means to be a sponsor, and what it actually means to get a return back on that investment for that marketing that you did.
That's right. And I think that also gets down to understanding sponsorship agreements. So when you actually sit down with a footy club and you say, look, I'm going to donate, 500 or 1,000, whatever the amount is, it could be $2, it doesn't matter. But there needs to be that reciprocal, I'm going to give you this, this is what I'm looking for. What are you looking for? And having that agreement, that connection that, you know, you will show up to 5 games and cook the barbecue, that you will promote your sponsorship through your socials and say, you know, for example, we've got a local footy club here and it's the Rebels, you know, getting on your socials and going, go Rebels, or getting all hyped up. And, you know, if you're an online store, you know, having all your marketing reflect if they get into the, you know, that premiership end of the season. And it's also about, hey, you know, why don't you get the local captain of the footy club in to do a draw in your business? I mean, there's so many creative ways that you can strengthen that partnership. And whether it's an agreement that's a handshake, which most is, or a written thing, I actually like written sponsorship agreements. They can be 1 pages, but it outlines, you know, sharing of socials and all those things. And it's also it's much more than a sign on a footy oval. And I think people forget that. They think, oh, well, I've paid my $500 for the sign. That's it, I'm done. It's much more than that. It's about how you can leverage off that partnership, because that's what you've literally done, is you've become a partner with the local footy club. We'll keep using the footy club as the example here, or the case study. But, you know, you need to show up and be present. I personally can't stand football. It was nothing for me whatsoever, but I've got a lot of clients who sponsor, and, you know, I encourage them, go along, be involved, get your colours, put your colours up in your windows, walk around proudly with your beanie on. It doesn't matter, just be part of it. You know, if they decide they're going to do a fundraiser or an initiative of some type, get involved, pick up the phone and go, how can I help?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I know that, you know, I used to have a retail shop, like my listener, depending on how long they've been listening to the podcast, may or may not know. That's kind of where that was my second, I guess, iteration of being a small business owner. And we had a presence in the main street of my town. And I reckon 2 times a day we would get people coming in and ask for a donation. You know, we're running this event. Can we have a donation? And eventually, you know, we always gave to local businesses. If they were from out of town, we rarely would, depending, you know, Royal Children's Hospital appeal and a few things like that, obviously, but they had to be sort of local. But in the end, we ended up doing a donation form, and they had to fill out a form for it. And one of the questions on the form was, what's in it for us? Basically, not quite that harsh. It was probably worded a little bit nicer than that, but it was their time to sit back and reflect and say, well, okay, I want a donation from these people. What am I actually going to give back to them? Because so often that is the bit that is missed. You know, as far as, you know, we small business owners, we're so generous and we give. And sometimes we need to put on our marketing hat or our small business hat and go, all right, I want to give, but I need to put on my hat and say, but I need something in return.
I totally agree. I've just done a podcast last week and this week about the value of community sponsorship from both sides of the fence. So I'm talking about from the business side and I'm talking about from the community group side, because you're right, businesses get inundated. And there's almost a community entitlement that business on the corner needs to give me $50 or $100 when I walk in. And normally, you know, and I've been there. There. You know, normally it's a community member walking in saying, hi, I'm Sam from da-da-da-da-da. We're doing this fundraising. We're doing a big raffle. You know, can you donate a $20 voucher or an item up to $20? Because you can't expect business owners that are small to hand out thousands of dollars worth of goods without getting a huge return. But unless you've got a background in marketing, you don't understand that. Or if you've ever run a business before. And then, you know, there's that expectation, and, you know, often refusal, can't even say it, offends, and people get all, oh, Mary on the corner from the wool and knitting shop said no. And it's like, oh my God, why did she say no? Probably because she's had 4 other people in the same day ask for the same thing. And she is 90 and has no affiliation with the footy club. So there's no aligned values. There's no connection there. So you've got to be, I think, from a community group, you've also got to be very aware of the businesses that you are going to approach And
Mhm.
you've got to have those answers ready when they say, what is in it for us?
Yeah.
Okay, you'll get a certificate of appreciation. You'll get a mention on our socials. Our president will mention your name 5 times throughout the event, or you will be featured in a thank you in the local paper, or we would like you to come along and do a very quick interview on our local community radio with our president as a sponsor or supporter. And then when you start to say those things, the business owner goes, oh, okay, well, that's free PR.
Yeah.
I'm supporting the group that I like and my business aligns with their values. And I get to get my name out there. I get that feeling, that warm and fuzzy feeling that I'm helping the community. But there's actually a return because you're, getting some awareness of your brand out there. So it's
Yeah.
a two-way street. And I agree with the list. I've got a lot of professional service clients and they get inundated and they have a form too, because there are a lot of local events that don't do their due diligence. They'll end up with 4 sectors or 4 like-minded similar businesses all sponsoring, gets cluttered, doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And I've seen community groups not even thank the businesses that have sponsored. And I just cry. I'm like, oh no, that means you're souring the bucket for the next community group that walks in, because
Yeah.
that business owner is going to say, you know what? I didn't even get acknowledged. Or they spelt my name wrong, or they got my logo upside down, or they've used an old logo off the internet without even saying, hey, Sam, can you flick us your logo, your latest
Mm.
one?
Yeah. Yeah. All those things. And, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, Jen, I need a copy of that form. Absolutely. It lives on my website. Send me an email. More than happy to share with you my donation form that I made people fill in. And also that sorted some people out because they didn't want to fill in the form. But you said an interesting thing at the start around collaborative marketing, and I'd really like to dive into that a little bit more because I know that is something that you are very passionate about, is that whole collaborative marketing. So I guess for my listener to start with, what is collaborative marketing in your thoughts?
Okay, so for me, it runs in 2 streams. So that's about like-minded businesses working together to do a collaborative thing. During COVID, as a photographer, I matched up with a local florist and a local cake maker, and we did Fabulous Fridays. So you would ring up on the Thursday, you would order your flowers. They'd be a beautiful bunch of flowers, and the cupcakes, the lady, the baker, the creator would match the cupcakes to the color and the style of the flower. So hypothetically, let's pick on a rose. So you'd get your 3 or 4 roses and you'd get 2 cupcakes, and the cupcakes would be decorated like a rose. And it was Fabulous Fridays because during COVID, let's face it, it was pretty boring there at some stages, and you needed your Fridays to be fabulous.
Yeah.
And so those girls would somehow, I don't know how they did it, but they would deliver me the flowers on a Thursday night with the cupcake. I would photograph those in my studio, crank up the music, get the vodka out and sit there and just play. And it was my time to be fabulous on Friday. And then I would post those photos and tag those 2 businesses in it. And we did that for weeks and we had so much fun. And out of
Wow.
collaboration, the florist got increased sales, the cupcake creator got increased sales, and I got a hell of a lot of good PR and clients who came to me for photography services. So that's a business collaboration. Now,
Mhm.
when you look at it from the other side, and that's when you get a whole group of businesses together. So Marysville and Lake Mountain, when I worked there as tourism development officer, working for industry, I learned very quickly that every time you open up a visitor guide, there would be a group of businesses that would advertise. And that could be particularly, I suppose, seen as a collaborative marketing effort. So that would be about local government or the local tourism officer approaching 5 businesses and saying, take out a small ad because we can have a whole page just on Marysville. And collectively, it looks like, we've got some really good offerings for that destination. So what I'm doing now with the food group is that we are getting our businesses together in like support and buy local campaigns. So they do marketing collaboratively together. So, we come up with some opportunities for businesses to be involved. It costs them nothing. They might put a counter card, a bauble we had for our Christmas campaign in their shop front. They might use the PNG over their images on their socials if they're an online business, or both, if they've got bricks and mortar. But they come together and we promote collaboratively or collectively to, enhance and showcase what you can do locally as far as buying local and support local. So that's a collective or a collaborative marketing effort. And I love those because you get to work on the themes, you get to work on identifying which businesses might want to be involved. You get to go out and chat to those businesses and say, listen, this is what we're putting together. Does this resonate? Or, are you interested? And 9 times out of 10, they go, oh, yes, please, something, because it's additional to what their marketing efforts are. So it's not about taking over their marketing efforts. So if I approached you, Jen, I'd be saying, Jen, there's a couple of different ways you can be involved. You can be featured. You can use the logos for the Buy Local campaign, support small business, because I know it's right up your alley. We would do a feature on you, and it's all free because why? Our Food and Wine Group has gone and got funding so that our small businesses can be part of it for nothing. All they've got to do is play with the assets that we've created and do whatever they like with them, but be part of it. And that's about being inclusive. One of the things that came up at the business breakfast the other day was sometimes businesses go along to their normal business and tourism association meetings and they don't feel like they're inclusive. It might be very retail heavy, or it might be very accommodation heavy. So one of the things that we've tried to work on as a group is making sure that any marketing efforts is inclusive. So it doesn't matter what business you are, doesn't matter what sector you're in, doesn't matter what you identify as. You can identify as a blue square and the back paddock, it doesn't matter. As long as you've got an ABN included. And I think that's part of it, that collective marketing is making sure you can be as inclusive as possible.
Yeah, okay. No, that was really good. That was really good. I guess collaborative marketing, also, what if you haven't got someone like yourself? What if you haven't got an organization backing you? Could be as simple as just having someone in your area, in your main street, bring up an initiative and they go out and find different people who might want to join in, like maybe a VIP night or a summer launch or something like that. Does there have to be an organization such as a chamber or a board behind these things, or can you create your own collaborative marketing?
The demonstration that I talked about before about me matching up with 2 other businesses, I think there's scope for that, Jen. And businesses sometimes are very scared to make that next step and go and approach 2 neighbouring businesses or businesses that have a similar or almost an alignment of values and offerings, like accommodation and an eatery place, for example.
So same clients, no competition type of thing.
Yeah. And it does get tricky because sometimes businesses will go, oh, I don't want to team up with that person. They might make $5 more than me. But you've got to push past that. It's almost like packaging, for years and years and years when I worked at Marysville and Lake Mountain, it was really about packaging, and trying to get an attraction, accommodation and a cafe to work together. It would work, but, if one got whiffed, that one got more bookings than the other, sometimes it was a bit tricky and you had to navigate that. But I think you're right. You can be part of a group, or you can actually show that initiative, have a coffee with somebody and say, I'm thinking about doing this in the lead up to Christmas, or I'm thinking about doing a March special. Could you be involved? What could we do? And sometimes from those initial discussions, you'll get your 1 or 2 business owners that get together and create magic. And I think that's where collaborative marketing can be whatever those like-minded businesses dream up, come up with. And you just got to have a go.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of heading back to my retail days, which are getting further and further away now. I think it's probably been 9 years or something since I was in retail. I'd have
Yeah.
to do the calculator bit, and I can't do that and talk at the same time. But some of our biggest days of the year were collaborative days where we put on VIP nights. Our biggest day was always Christmas Eve, but other than that, they were some of our biggest times, and we would share email lists. We would do, snail mail. We would do social media posts. We would do social media ads. We would use the local paper because we had a bit of a budget, and it might have only been $50 each. But by the time you get 10 or 12 or 20 businesses involved, that's quite a big budget for your marketing then to market this type of thing. So I think that if you don't have a proactive chamber or you don't have a proactive board within your town, maybe you're the person that everybody's waiting for to step up to take on these collaborative and see how it goes. But I can highly recommend that you will see great results if you put the energy in. But I guess, Sam, what if my listener isn't a bricks and mortar? Like, what do you see as far as collaborative marketing online? Can you talk a little bit about
I
that?
some really good ones. I interviewed Megan Buntine the other day, and Megan works in the area of governance with not-for-profits and boards. And she does a series of free webinars, and she'll get guest speakers in.
Yep.
And these guest speakers come from all over Australia, and they might have a particular interest or speciality in one field. And she'll get them in and they'll talk. So that is an online collaborative where she's actually reached out to, say, 2 or 3 other business speakers and pulled them into an online webinar. And that's worked really well, because not only does she get to promote the webinar and her guest speakers, but they also promote it.
Yeah.
So they're dragging in their audiences. Megan's got hers, and together, that's several hundred people on the Zoom meeting. How awesome is that? So there are many ways. The other way, look what we're doing. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. 2 ABN holders, 2 women in business who work in regional area. There are some similarities in our offerings, but here's a collaboration. You've been on my podcast. I'm coming to yours. Very simple. It's cost us, an hour of each other's time, and probably, try not to laugh too much or snort. Well, I mean, talking about me, but, like a very simple collaboration. We'll walk away from this. You'll promote that you've been speaking to me. I'll promote I've been speaking to you. And that's 2 lots of audiences that all of a sudden will discover somebody else and go, oh, wow. So I think you just have to be inventive. You just have to have a go. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, try something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're listening and you don't have a podcast, I did a collaboration, very simply the other day with Michelle Broadbent. She wrote a blog because, I offer, guest blogging on my socials and also on my website. She wrote a blog. It was called February Freakout, where we're all freaking out. It's already February. And, we want some tools to handle that. And she's like, let's do an Instagram live to back up the blog. And I'm like, oh, awesome. So we hopped on an Instagram live. We talked about, the blog. We talked about February Freakout. She gave some tips and tricks around it. I got more traffic to my website because they were curious about the blog. People, that knew Michelle now know me, vice versa. Like, it's very simple. Like, a collaboration doesn't have to be bigger than Ben-Hur. It can be as simple as an Instagram live or a blog swap or a podcast swap, whatever you've got in your business.
I think that's fabulous. Like they often say, don't they, that blogs are dead. Well, blogs aren't dead. I mean, look at that. What an initiative of just 2 people, and throw in the Instagram live, like impromptu, authentic. People love that. People love it. They resonate with that. It's something quick that they can consume. And if they're interested, they can go off and check out your website or Michelle's and, learn from both of you at once. Inspirational. You 2 are legends.
Oh, thanks. She is definitely. So Sam, let's perhaps talk a little bit about maybe the negative side of collaborations. Have you got any tips and tricks on, or just some tips, no tricks? Have you got any tips on, making sure that it is a two-sided, 50-50 fair arrangement? Like, have you got any tips around making sure
Oh,
that people know
I've
what
seen
they're
some
doing?
Yeah, I've seen some doozy disasters. And,
Yeah.
when I've actually gone in and spoken to each of the businesses' individuality, and I've said, right, we're taking the emotion out, we're just looking at what went wrong. And it always got down to
Drum
agreement,
roll. Drum roll.
process, and expectations. And none of it was written down. So
Yeah,
there wasn't.
communication.
Yeah, there was. Well, that's right. There wasn't a vehicle for communication. There was no paperwork, nothing in writing. It was just a handshake, and then one person walked off with a higher expectation than the other, and it all fell to bits. So you need to communicate. You need to put it in writing. Well, that's me. I'd have a one-pager about, who you are, what you're going to do, what the cost might be if there's one, and all those details. Just nail it down, email it back and forth until you're happy with it, and then sign off on it and go and have some fun. But yeah, communication is key, dotting down what you want to achieve and what you want the outcome and what the expectation is. I expect, Sam, that you're going to post this on your socials 5 times over the next few weeks. Simple, very simple point. And the person is going to do also reciprocal posting on their socials. Just very, very simple. But yes, you do end up with argy-bargy if things aren't communicated or you haven't outlined your expectations of what the other person thinks you might do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think platform platforms like Instagram, for instance, like I know not everyone's on Instagram, but it does make collaboration a little bit easier on there. Like there are tools there, such as, when Michelle and I were going live to talk about February Freakout, I could actually schedule that live. So anyone who looked at my story or her story could click on a little button to say, remind me of when the live was coming, type of thing. I could also, when I did the post about it, I could actually, tag Michelle in as, a collaborator, which meant that my post was then on her socials as long as she clicked OK. Like, obviously, you have to agree to be a collaborator, but it meant that she didn't then have to go and create assets and create, a story or whatever, because at a click of a button, she's like, yep, I'm happy to share that on my socials as well. So there's little bits and pieces that, in the digital world can make these things easier for you, if you just know that the tools are there and that and you use those tools to promote those sorts of collaborations.
Yeah, I think you're right, because social media platforms are evolving. People provide feedback. There's forums where people provide feedback. With paid verification now, you're talking to people if there's an issue. They're taking notes of any challenges or hassles or any opportunities. And I think you're right. Today I logged on and did something on Instagram for our local community hall, and Instagram, because it's got the AI threaded through it now, popped up with a little thing that said, hey, do you want to set a reminder for your event, for your audience? And I'm like, 2 taps, all set. I'm like, winner, chicken dinner. Didn't take me long at all. And that's the thing, platforms are becoming more creative friendly. Like, I'm not saying they never have been, but you look in the last 5 years, 5 years ago, Jen, you may not have been able to do that.
Yeah.
But this year you have, and your February Freakout worked because you collaborated, you had the platform of your choice. I suppose the 2 of you spoke about what platform you're going to use, but the platform gave you the tools to be able to just set it up and go for it. And then it's also got the insights and the analytics. So the 2 of you can actually look back and go, well, you know what? That gained a bit of interest. So, you may do it again. And how exciting is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think collaborative marketing, I think if you're listening to this and you aren't collaborating with anyone to do marketing, I really feel that if people ask me, how can I do marketing more simple? Like my podcast, Small Business Made Simple, I'm all about making it simple. I always say, well, you can go live, like you can go live for 5 minutes and your marketing is done for the day. Or, look at collaborations because then you get in front of another audience that's already warm because they love the person you're collaborating with. And so, you can build your audience or build your business a little bit quicker like that. So if you aren't thinking collaborative marketing, I hope this conversation with Sam and I has kind of made you think, wow, maybe this is something I need to look at in 2024. And personally, I think 2024 is all about the collaboration.
I think so. I agree with everything you're saying there, Jen, because, if you don't have the groups and organisations around you, have a look at those that you like working with. It might be a collaboration with a supplier. Like it doesn't
Yes.
even have to be, the bricks and mortar shop next door. It might be a supplier. They might be coming out with a new product. One of the people that I love to watch, and I'll just see if I can open it up. It's a product from NutriCare called Patch, and you and I presented.
Yes.
Yeah, do you remember who I'm talking about?
I do. I can't remember his name, but I remember he was the keynoter at the event we both spoke at.
Yeah, and I have been watching his journey and his company's journey because, now it's a $1 billion industry. And he sent out a email last week about, oh, we've got a new product. I'm like, wow. So now they've come out with bite relief spots. And I thought he would be, even at his level, because he started down where we did, very basic, working from home. He collaborates with people. And I'm thinking, if you are a retailer and you stock Patch, they would be, I reckon, really open to a collaboration. So think outside the square. Don't think about just retail to retail collaboration or be part of a group collaboration. Think of your suppliers because sometimes they bring out new products and there might be an opportunity for you to collaborate them, promote the new product and get something of benefit out of that collaboration in talking up that product. It might be an in-store visit. It might be a live talking about the new product with the person and, the first customer sale. I don't know. But you can be creative on so many different levels when you come down to business collaboration and marketing.
Yes, such a great point. Thank you for bringing that one up. I think that is, a fantastic thought that it doesn't necessarily have to be another small business owner. It can be someone else in your world, as long as there's something in it for you as well. This isn't just about promoting them. There's got to be something in it for you.
That's
And you've
right.
got to know what that is when you go into it, or be willing to have those discussions as you go along. But this has been such a great chat, Sam. I'm just so yeah, I just think this has just been so good. You've given so many great examples that I'm sure my listener is kind of like thinking this, thinking that, and sort of maybe they need to listen to this one again and write some notes as they go along. But is there anything that we haven't touched on around that local marketing or collaborative marketing that we should finish on? I
I
love it
think
when I put people on the spot and they've got to
you
think about
on the
another
spot,
thing.
you can see the brain going tickety, 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 tick. I think it's about being open-minded to approaches. I think sometimes we work like little silos in quite a lot of isolation. And I think you've got to step outside that square and be willing to give it a go. When you talk to entrepreneurs, especially in the techie or the startup industry, they came up with an idea and they ran with it. Much like Mr. Patch, that affected his family. They were getting rashes on their arms from, the current selection of medical products out there, and they came up with something new. So I think it's about having a go, just getting out there, having that go, communicating, finding those people that align with your values and just giving it a red hot go. What's the worst that can happen? You move on it, you learn from it. Every failure you learn from. And look, we've all stuffed up as business owners, We've done some classic ones over the years, and you learn from it, and you think, well, I learned from that. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
But I just hope that listeners to your podcast think about how they can collaborate with other businesses or suppliers or people in their network, and by good communication, come up with a bit of a plan and just go for it. Just go for it. Just try it. It is, it's a huge tool in your toolbox as far as PR and marketing.
Yeah.
And you've got nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. Absolutely. You make so many great points there. And you don't, at most it'll cost you a couple of hours of your time, and you may learn something seriously valuable about it if it doesn't go ahead, because the next time you want to do a collaboration, maybe don't ask that question, or maybe you need to do this a little bit differently, or you need to approach that different business because this one didn't work, which is also valuable at the end of the day. Now, Sam, if my listener wants to get in contact or wants to learn a little bit more about what you do or your photography or anything like that, where's the best place to find you?
Just head over to samhicks.com.au. Very simple, like you, Jen, all in one spot.
Brilliant. I will have that single link in the show notes for sure. Sam, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast, and I can't wait to talk to you next time.
I really appreciate the opportunity. You have a fabulous day, and Jen, keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop.
Thanks, Sam. Thank you. Did you enjoy that? Sam is such a perfect example of community and working with a community to grow it. She's definitely someone I look up to as far as community building goes. And I just love that she's making such a difference in the small communities where she works and does business. Now, Sam also has a podcast, as we mentioned, the 5-Minute Business Boost podcast. So make sure you go and have a listen to that. The link, of course, is in the show notes. But I'd love to know, what did you take away from that chat? Send me an email, a DM, or jump into the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group and let me know what you took away from my conversation with Sam. But that's it for episode 288. It was an extra special one because it came out not on a Thursday, but just on some random Tuesday. But it was one that I needed to get out in March when we were talking about amplifying your business, because thinking about local marketing is really thinking outside the square when it comes to amplifying your message. If you loved this episode and found it valuable, I would love you to reach out to Sam and say, thanks, Sam, that was great. But also leave me a rating and review if you can do that where you are listening to this podcast. And if you've got a friend who you think might like to listen to it too, please share it with your friend. I'd appreciate it, and they probably will too. If you're not part of the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group, then come and join that group. The link, of course, is in the show notes. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to last week's episode, or a couple of days ago episode, I interviewed Andrew Griffith and we talked about speaking, authorship, but more importantly, storytelling. It was such a great episode. I'd really encourage you to head back and listen to episode 288 if you haven't already. Oh, actually, 287, I should say. I'll see you next week, though, on the podcast. If we're not social yet on social, please come and find me. I'm on all the different platforms, basically under Jen Donovan, Jen with 2 N's. I would love to have a conversation with you online as well. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peep, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.